Welcome to Goob Goes Outdoors. The following commentary was taken during my drive back to Dallas following my solo cycling adventure along the KATY Trail in Missouri. Please support my channel by liking and subscribing below. Thank you.
Hey, Goob here. So, just finished the KATY Trail. Left, started pedaling on last Saturday, and today is the following Thursday. So I had planned on camping 5 nights, pedaling for 6 days, and as it turned out, I did abort and stopped my camping last night. And I've got some other clips about why exactly. And it was funny how it all happened. But regardless, in retrospect, I would do it again. It was fantastic. And I'll go over the exact route that I took as an example. Hopefully people can use that. And what I would do differently having done it. But overall, I would do it again in a heartbeat if that's what you want to do. So my total expense on the actual trail was a slight donation to Hartsburg for the city park that I stayed in. It was, I believe, $12 at the Sedalia campsite. It was $10 at the KATY Roundhouse campground. And that was real nice, and a nice shower house and everything. That was real good. The Steamboat Junction campground in Bluffton, Missouri was spot on. I really enjoyed that campground a lot. It was very well manicured. It was everything you need. It was tidy. It was the shower house was nice. Now there was only myself and one other camper doing the trail, so I'm sure if it gets real busy, the shower house is probably busy. It's not quite as easy to use or whatever. There was a porta potty, but overall, I thought that was actually a really good campground. And then last night was supposed to be my best campground, which was Klondike, and I read so many great things about it in Augusta, Missouri. And it was supposed to be a sunny day, and then the rain was supposed to come in last night. Well, it got there early, and it popped out of nowhere. And so I jumped out of that and didn't do it, and instead stayed at the Happy Apple bunkhouse. And it was really, really nice. Again, if it's full, it's probably a different situation. For me, there was a couple that I met that was on the second floor. I was on the first floor, and then there was a common area that we all hung out and talked last night till late. Jerry, the new guy that I met, super nice guy, he made a fantastic cup of hot chocolate for me before bed. It was just an overall great experience with the right people, and it was perfect. And then today was a fantastic ride. So again, I spent $80 at the Happy Apple. So 80, 90, 100, 112. And then I wasted the $10 for the Klondike. So it was $122 and then my tip that I left. So call it $130 for lodging for 5 nights. Yeah, that was a really inexpensive trip when it's all said and done. So yes, it can be done on a budget. It was a budget, and hey, it was fantastic. And to follow up, I spent $120 for the shuttle to take me from St. Charles down to Clinton. So I had 120 over there, 120 here, so I'm at 240 for the trip. My gas that took me to get from Texas on up here in my truck, so that was actually kind of pricey. But and then the meals that I ate. And I did have some camping meals, but I also brought some beans and some different things for protein that I did enjoy. And that was all grocery store type stuff. But I did not buy anything food related on the trail besides my pancakes that I had at Mayweather's, because they looked really, really, really good, and they were worth every penny. And then I also had a latte with those two. It was a great lunch. It was kind of a brunchy type time, and it was fantastic. And then I did have pizza yesterday at a little pizza parlor, and that was fantastic too. So again, I went on a pure budget. If I was to do it again, and depending on, this is a solo trip, I wasn't expecting a whole lot. I wanted to kind of blaze the trail. If I was to bring back my wife and do it differently, the budget's going to be very different, and I won't be bringing the Burly Nomad trailer. We'll get some panniers and put clothes in there, some Dob kit type stuff, and some minor food, and then call it a day, and then eat out and stay at bed and breakfasts the whole time. But that would be a very fun way to do it, and it can easily be done. So for the trip, I had really 3 mechanical breakdowns. I did have a flat tire on the trailer. I did have a flat tire on my gravel bike that has tubeless tires, and it actually separated away from the rim, and I had my sealant go everywhere. I had really a hard time trying to get my axle, my through axle, out because it was so tight. My wrench, I couldn't turn it, and that's on me. I had the wrong tool for the job, and I am kicking myself when I got done with this whole thing. I should have gone back out before I left and actually taken off the back tire with that through axle on the trailer, and I didn't do it, and that is on me. So what I tried doing, and it worked, it wasn't ideal, was that I kept trying to trying to seat in the tire on the rim with CO2. So for all the people who, on one of the pages I posted something about CO2, asking just a concerned question, what should I bring, a tube, CO2 cartridges, a pump, what? And everyone bashed me on CO2 cartridges and the hand pump. Leave them both. I used them both. So I am not going to tell people not to have CO2 and a hand pump as a backup, because there were spots on this trail where there was no one around for a long time, and there was no service anywhere, cell service or just service to get help. So when today's flat happened, I was by myself, had to figure something out. So I tried inflating it to reseat the tire on the rim, and it actually worked, sort of. I can see where the tire actually has an issue. And in my other post here about the ride, I do show a picture of it, and it was weird. It had a little bubble in it, and right at where it came apart. So I'm probably just going to replace the tire itself. But I was crazy not to have the right tool on hand, and so that's a lesson learned there. And then the last thing was the gears on the second day, and it's an alignment issue. When it bent back, it just jammed it, and I could never get gears to work properly. For the first, it happened day 2 and 3, I had 1 gear. I jacked with it that night, and I got it to work to the point where I had 2 gears, 1.5, because it slipped back to the other ring size. So again, and that's something that it's no one's fault but my own. The bike tipped over, and it was me. I'm getting a kickstand for this bike, darn it. And for trips like this, I won't use it all the time, but with the trailer on the back, I couldn't hold the bike, and there wasn't always a tree close by or a bridge, or just the way things happen. So I tried stretching, and it can't reach the back of the trailer, so you have to put it somewhere. The whole thing just didn't work out the way it should have that way. So regardless, those are the three things overall that were not working correctly during this trip. There were a few electronics that I found very useful, and some that I didn't use at all, and I thought I'd just share that because I couldn't find any information about that before I left. So I just brought everything. In hindsight, I just had a lot of stuff I didn't need. The way I do my stuff is I have everything separated in dry bags, different sizes, and they're different things. I got one for clothing, I've got one for electronics, one for Dob kit type toothbrushes and deodorant, and that sort of stuff. And so I've got them all separated. In my electronics one, it's heavy because I had so much stuff in it. And what I didn't use that I brought, I didn't know if I'd do any street driving at all. So I didn't go into Jeff City and Columbia and some of those cities. If you do that, you may want to have a flashing headlight. I brought mine. I just never used it because I was on the trail the whole time. And so for me personally, for this ride, it was not worth it at all. I should have left it at home. I also brought, I've got a tail light that I absolutely love that syncs up to my Garmin, and it actually alerts me if there's cars behind or people behind, and I really like that a lot. I thought maybe I'd use it on the trail because people would be passing me, that sort of thing. It'd be nice to know. Nah, you don't need it. People don't go that fast because of the trail itself, and you just can't go that fast. So I'd leave that at home also. So with each of those, I brought cables and all that. So I had a whole spider web of cables and stuff that I didn't need from that standpoint. What I did use a lot though, and I really enjoyed, was my Garmin, because for me, I want to know what my heart rate is. I want to know my watts. I'm a geek when it comes to all the numbers, and I like to keep track of all of that and where my heart rate sits based on longevity of the ride, that sort of thing. So for me, the Garmin headset was awesome. I'd definitely bring that again. And my Shocks headphones were a lifesaver. The first day I couldn't find them in my mess of electronics, so I did not use them at all the first day. And just for me personally, it makes the ride a whole lot longer. I like listening to music. I'm all for nature and hearing nature sounds first thing in the morning, but I do like to have a little background music going on from that standpoint. So that was important. I do wear a watch, an Apple Watch. It's the Ultra. I did have to bring, obviously, a charger for that. Even though it's good for a couple days, I did like to charge it every night, just not knowing when the next time would be that I could recharge and that sort of thing. When I put a list of all the campgrounds I stayed at, I could find electricity at each one. Some were better than others, but I could find electricity, and I'll detail that as well too, because that's one thing I couldn't really find. So I went to this thing and I brought 5 or 6 places where I could plug something into if I had to. As far as I had my Lucy light, I had I probably would not have brought this because of this trip, but I did have his battery pack or battery whatever that had solar panels on it that I bought. It's a nice little guy, but it's heavy. I actually didn't need it and didn't use it. And then I also brought several smaller battery charging stations that I did end up charging and using every night. So again, I'll post a link down below of what those were. That worked for me. It doesn't mean it's for everyone, but for me, it worked out really good. So as far as eye protection, I'm a huge believer in eye protection. And for me, on the KATY Trail, there were 2 types that I'd highly recommend. I would definitely have a pair of good semi-dark sunglasses, like what I have on right here. These are Field Mori sunglasses. They're fantastic, and they were perfect for the trip. And then I also brought along another pair of Field Moris that were photochromic. So in dark areas, they actually get clearer, and then in the sunlight, they actually get darker. And they were fantastic, and I used them both a lot. When it started raining, I'd put on the photochromatic sunglasses, because that way they'd be clear. Rain would be, wouldn't be hitting me in the eyes, and I could pedal just fine. So I would use the photochromatic with the rain, just because then they're protected when you're riding in the speed and the wind and all that. So that was good. But those two pairs were really, really good. I did wear my contacts all but one day. The first day I did not, and every other day I did. So, hey, I wanted to do a quick little recap and just go over water on the KATY Trail. So I just finished it. The KATY Trail was fantastic. I will say that it's hard to plan water. I'm a drinker. I like to stay hydrated, and I thought there were spurts where there was a lot of water available, and then there were spurts where I was sitting there going, am I gonna run out of water? What I found that worked for me is I had two, they're normal, but they're the large size, and they're 22-ounce water bottles in my cages. I had a water bottle cage on, two of them on the inside of my frame. And then what I did is I did purchase a front fork rack, and then I bought a bottle. It's a large bottle that'll go inside of it, and it's a plastic bottle, and it was like $20-some, and the rack was, I don't know, 20 or 30 or something too. But, and so it was an expense that I wasn't really planning on making. The other option would have been to hang another water bottle underneath. In hindsight, that's probably what I should have done, and not gone this route, because it does swash around if it's not completely full anyway. First day, I filled it all the way full, and it carried this big old thing all the way around, and I really didn't need it at all. I don't think because I stopped for water along the way, I think I just used I never opened it basically. But what I wanted it for, and what I did use it for a lot, was at the campsites to put water in more than just the water bottles. So for those reasons, I would definitely suggest some kind of other, if you're camping, for me camping. If I wasn't camping, again, I'd probably just do another rack underneath and have a spare down there and use the two on top constantly is what I would do. But I just want to give a little recap there, because again, the water is, in some places it was sparse, some places you had it. But again, I didn't venture too much into the cities. I wanted to stay mostly on the trails and take it from that perspective. So, hindsight, that's what I would do. Peace out. I just wanted to give a quick little recap for parking a car when riding the KATY Trail and my experience. So I went ahead and I parked right behind the Comfort Inn and Suites in St. Charles. That is actually where my shuttle picked me up, and I left my car there from Saturday afternoon or Saturday morning through Thursday around noontime the following Thursday. So that's quite a long time, and my car was perfectly fine, didn't get touched or anything. So yeah, I would definitely suggest that's a good place to park. It was 100% free, didn't cost me a nickel, which is even better. And the trail you can actually pick up right there. So if you wanted to go down and back or out and back from there, if you wanted to go back and forth, whatever you wanted to do all the way, you can surely do that as well too. But just want to pass it along with parking. In my situation and what I did for the time I did it was fantastic.